It's a lot different out here. So we're last week of September. We got all the leaves falling out of the trees. All changing colors, putting on a show out here. How are we doing today, girls? There's our winter lamb, Joy. Look at her, she's about the same height as Betty is now. She's not quite as big, but she's almost as tall. All right, we got our three 2023 ewe lambs in here. We got Maya, Mary, and Daisy. That one there is Maya. She was a twin. This one right here is Mary. And look at how big she is. Okay, and then let's see. And then right over there we got Daisy. She's getting really big too. She's getting tall. A little bit of a warmer day today, but we don't have the really high heat index. Rudy's throwing her weight around with those horns. So we did stick with the plan of following the tree line during the real hot weather. We're into the last week of September now. All the trees are starting to change color. All the leaves. But we still have hot weather. We're kind of back into a droughty situation. We haven't really had any rain to speak of for a while now. So the ground is really hard, of course. It's really tough to get the stakes of the fence in to the ground. So that's one of the challenges that come along with the droughty situation. Once it starts to rain and soften the ground up a little bit, it sure makes life easier. But you know, I keep the mallet with me, and if I can't get the stakes in, I just utilize the mallet, and that helps out pretty good. But out in this area, we've ran the ewes through all of this stuff that you can see that's been trimmed. We still have a lot of broom sedge in our pasture. So rather than leave the broom sedge standing, I've just been trimming it after the sheep go through. They go through and get the grass that they'll actually eat. And then we've been doing daily moves with them. Now along the tree line, I haven't been trimming it as much because I really just didn't want to trim the good grass down there too low. And it's just not necessary to do. There's a little bit of broom sedge that grows down there, but it's mostly good stuff, which is totally different than up here though, guys. We got a lot of work to do to correct this situation with the broom sedge. Animals will eat the broom sedge when it's really young, but at this stage, you know, they're not really gonna eat it, and it's really an irritation for everybody. This stuff's like really woody, and then this stuff right here is just a pain. It gets in their eyes and in their nose, and when you mow it, man, it's kind of like fiberglass, so it's not fun. But for now, I guess the benefit of it is when we mow it, we're putting down a lot of carbon. But you can also see all those seed heads everywhere. That's what's giving everything this kind of white appearance. Stuff is just nasty. But so I don't mind mowing that stuff down short. And I'm just hoping that next year what we see out here is something besides broom sedge. And there is other things. There's a lot of the two different kinds of tridents that we have growing out here, the purple tops and the long spikes, and some panic grass and some other things that grow out here. But in this area, unfortunately, there's still just a lot of this stuff. what is that? Don't know what that is. That's pretty cool. Looks like a dung beetle. So these are some of the old paddocks that I haven't trimmed back yet. This area was mowed not too long ago, so it didn't look quite as long as the rest of the field does out here, especially over in that area. But so I am going to come through and trim this stuff down, get rid of the tall broom sedge that's growing in there. And all these bare spots are now getting a little bit of mulch from mowing. And I don't mind these bare spots here as long as they're mulched. Just simply because I know that there was mostly broom sedge growing in there. So the sheep kind of probably scratched a lot of that area up. Some of it might have already been a little bit bare, but they scratch wherever they bed. So every time I move them, they put a bedding area right next to the fence line, and they scratch it up. And I thought it was a bad thing before, but just considering everywhere that they scratch up, by next spring there's going to be a different kind of grass that grows in there rather than this junk. So it turns out that it's actually beneficial. Now so we ran the ewes all down this tree line here, and you can see the leaves kind of stop as far down as the sheep could reach. So that's going to give us a good point for this winter when we come in here and clear some of this out. We're going to probably do some work clearing some of these, some of the brush, some of the smaller trees out of here, just so we can use this tree line a little bit easier next year. As we learned this year, we definitely need it in the hot part of the year, which is seems to be a lot longer than, you know, where we're used to. Washington, your summer was kind of short, but here it's pretty much summer and winter. You have a couple weeks of spring, couple weeks of fall, but you pretty much get the two seasons. There's not much difference. I'm surprised that these leaves started changing so soon. They actually started changing color weeks ago, and it hadn't cooled down really much, but just a couple of degrees, and I guess that was enough to trigger the leaves to start changing and falling out of the trees. So we've finally hit October. We're well into fall here, guys. I'm down here with the rams right now, taking a look at the conditions. This area that they're next to is a little creek. It's dry, of course, right now. We're pretty droughty at the moment. We haven't had any rain for quite a while. But this is a pretty cool little spot here. This little creek runs down here. And of course in the wintertime it's pretty much full down there for the most part. So we got a lot of trees growing around here. It's interesting to see the changes in the vegetation, just how much more luscious it gets now versus when we first moved here. Because typically, you know, this being a hayfield for so many years, it just was cut down to the dirt with no cover left, and then the hay was always taken away. So to have it kind of get to build up a little bit of thatch and a little bit of starting to build up some topsoil anyways, it's pretty cool to see how green it can stay, at least right next to these creeks. So I moved the rams down here last night, And then they'll have one more spot next to this creek before we start moving them out. It's super dry though. We need some rain. Oh, starting Thursday, Friday, we're supposed to have a cool down. We've been still up close to right around 90 for quite a while now. And so we're really looking forward to it cooling down a little bit. Once it does, it just makes everything a little bit easier. And so we got some walnut trees up there. Hundreds of walnuts on the ground, so we're probably going to gather some of those up. And we haven't done that before, actually harvested any of them, so that'll be pretty neat. We'll harvest some of those. We will, once it's time, we're going to go out and check for passion fruits all through the pasture and then see what we can do with those. So we got some pretty neat homesteading activities that we can do for fall. Of course, everybody likes to do the pumpkin patch and stuff like that, but when you have a homestead, you got to look for ways to utilize your resources that are on your homestead, especially when you're doing a lean homestead like what we're doing. We're not looking to spend a bunch of money on seed or anything like that. You know, we don't have tractors to plow and till and plant seed, and we don't really that was not our mission when we started out on this homesteading operation here. We took the resources that we had and picked up and moved across the country, and we basically sunk as much of it as we could into the property. And now, you know, we don't have to worry about mortgage. We own our own property, we own our house, and that's really what was important to us. Now that we have those basics down, we can pretty much do whatever we want within our means. And that was the whole idea of doing a lean homestead. That's our lean grazing operation. You know, these guys are on pasture every single day, which sometimes can mean a lot more physical labor, but that's just part of it. If you're not sinking all your money into buildings and equipment, then you don't have to worry about debt. You don't have to worry about, you know, leaving debt for your kids. You can actually leave them something that's beneficial to them. Leaves are definitely falling out of the trees now.
Yeah, but that wind blowing off the leaves and landing into the creek.
It's amazing how quick the change happens.
Yeah, old-fashioned way, like in the olden days.
Gonna get out here and move the ewes. It's pretty warm today, but the humidity's gone down a little bit, so it doesn't feel near as bad as it was. But I want to get out here and move the ewes this afternoon, make sure and take advantage of the higher bricks count in the grass. We're ending summer, getting into fall. The leaves are changing color. Look here, this is where the sheep have been through already. I didn't mow this part behind them because there's a lot of good grass in here, and I just didn't want to cut the good grass. And I know there's some broom sedge. That's the stuff that you see still standing there, but I didn't want to cut the good stuff too, which is just kind of laid down. That's the tough thing. I'd like to come in here with a some kind of a mower that would leave the grass about 8 to 10 inches tall. Even 8 to 12 inches tall would be good, but I just don't have anything like that. I could come in here and weed whack, especially that broom sedge that's standing up there. And I might still do that, but you can see where we got the really good grass growing in there that's just kind of laid down from them grazing. And then over here where I've mowed, because there wasn't much of anything still standing except for broom sedge, so I don't mind mowing that broom sedge down. There's our couple of our persimmon trees that they pretty much ate most of the leaves off, but that's okay. They were getting ready to fall off anyways. Look at all the leaves on the ground back in those trees. Happened so quick. Okay. I'm just going to keep on moving them back towards the woods, back towards the tree line back there. And we have this drainage that runs straight back that way from here. So this is some good grass in here. I don't necessarily really want them in that because I don't want to cause any erosion or anything more than we need to. So probably what I'll do is I'm gonna just run them down towards the tree line as close to this as I can get without putting them actually in it, and let them graze some of this good grass in here. And there will be some more good stuff along the tree line back there, but we're starting to get into where it's already been mowed through here, and we got some taller broom sedge. And we also have some other good grass starting to grow though. And I don't think there was really this much growing in here last year, so that's awesome. We do still have a lot of broom sedge, but we got a lot of long spike tridents, and there's some orchard grass in here in some places, and we got a lot of trees and stuff growing in here too. Little guys starting to grow. So. But we're coming from up here, starting to work our way down. We got about a month left now till we introduce a ram for these girls. So we're going to be putting Ricky Bobby in here first. And we'll see how he does. He's pretty young. So we'll see how he does. If he doesn't get the job done, we got our ram from last year, Chico. He'll have an opportunity, or we can use one of the rams that we had this spring on some of these. Man, they sure love the seed heads. Look how big Mary is there. She's a spring ewe. She's almost the same size as our winter ewe here, Joy. And Joy's just barely smaller than the rest of the ewes now, so she's getting pretty big. Aren't you? Look at you. Man, you've grown. She's already putting on like a winter coat. It's crazy. She definitely has more of a white Katahdin look to her than the rest, which is good for here. So that's part of the idea with Ricky Bobby. He's white. And just because it gets so hot in the summer here in Missouri, so hot and humid, it's really hard to deal with. So we need sheep that are going to be able to tolerate the heat. So that's kind of the direction I'm going. I want a little bit shorter, not so leggy, just better meat on them. And I want lighter colored. I like them to be all colorful, but I just know that when they're a little bit darker, they're going to be absorbing more of the heat, more of the sunlight. So I think I'm going to go more for a lighter colored sheep from now on. So hopefully Ricky Bobby will do the trick, and then we'll have Australian white crosses, and that should be pretty neat. I want to definitely go more for a really good meat on these guys. So we'll be harvesting at least a couple, probably. Well, at least one, maybe a couple this winter once it cools down. And we'll make some videos on that. We haven't really been much for lamb eaters in the past, but this is not going to be store-bought lamb, so it's going to be definitely a much better experience. But as far as how much we really like it, we'll have to see. I'm excited for that. Obviously, the whole point of this was to get some little grass-powered, solar-powered lawnmowers, but also help regenerate our land here and get some meat. So if we can stock our freezer with some really healthy, delicious meat, that's just going to be awesome. So we'll definitely make some videos about that.